At 6:30, the obnoxious district siren startled me awake. My dreams had been nice for a change, and I'd wanted to stay in bed a little longer, but the thought of seeing Scarlet again energized me. I gladly rolled my feet to the floor, happy when the screeching ended. Mom helped us with our usual morning routine, giving me and Penny our day shots before dressing us. As always, she smiled and inspired us to have a great day before walking us to the tram. It wasn't long before Penny and I went off to education. On the way, thoughts of Scarlet dominated my mind. Everything else was muffled like background noise. I rushed to my first course, disappointed that I didn't see Scarlet along the way. The course took forever. When it finally ended, I hurried to my next, excited to see Scarlet. I was frustrated because the teacher informed us that our speakers would be activated this course, and we were all commanded to precisely note her lecture on the superiority of genetic engineering and the ongoing perfection and purification of our society. Unfortunately, I already knew every contemptible word by heart, but I had no choice except to comply. She put a diagram of a child on the screen, illustrating the dense internal structure, going into explicit detail on each of the organs. The small brain sat near the top, just below the vocal cords that attached to the speaker and sound detector, which rose like a porous dome above the body, stretching to the edges of the pelvis. When she paused, all the students leaned toward their terminals, repeating their words like mindless drones, recording for their notes. She tediously described the bypass system used for nutritional absorption and the day-shot delivery system, then paused again while we all intoned on her repulsive dogma. Next, she detailed the undersized lungs, just below the brain and directly behind the compact heart. She went on about the disposals, the painless backup system for the unlikely occurrence of unabsorbed nutrition, pausing often and waiting for us to recite. For the next part, she disabled our speakers, displaying another diagram. A magnified image of the microscopic eyes, small, pitch black, and lifeless bulges, nearly indistinguishable from the speaker. Unbelievably, she actually concluded her lecture by outlining how extremely inferior genetically engineered modifications were when compared to a fully grown adult. I fumed, shouting internally, "Make up your mind! Are mods superior or inferior?" After the lecture, I turned all my thoughts to Scarlet, sneaking secret glances at her as she diligently tapped out her notes. I was mesmerized by her presence, noticing how small her feet were and how beautiful her toes were. The teacher interrupted my thoughts, barking that it was time for an assessment. Somehow, I managed to get a perfect score even though I'd been totally engrossed in daydreaming about Scarlet. At midday break, Scarlet and I met at the terminals just outside Agro. We kept our voices low, talking in between notation. I couldn't record because her voice was distracting me, so I tapped out my short notes quickly. She surprised me, quietly saying,
"Tell me about your family."
We both swiveled, scanning for adults before turning back to our terminals. I modulated my volume really low.
"My mom's great. So is my little sister, Penny. How about you?"
Scarlet matched my volume.
"It's just me. My parents are great too." "Really?" "Yeah, really."
Scarlet turned to me, whispering,
"We should do this every day. Just you and me."
Shocked, I whipped around, whispering,
"Yeah."
Just then, the interval tone signaled, and we headed to our next course. Along the way, we only quietly discussed notes, but I was exhilarated. Knowing we had dangerously shared a secret was beyond thrilling. She wants to talk again. She trusts me. We passed the teacher's commissary, and I whispered,
I wonder what that's like.
Scarlett pivoted around before asking,
What? Eating.
It took a beat for her to respond.
I never thought about it.
We reached the entrance of the course room, and before lining up, Scarlett quickly whispered,
See you later.
I whispered back,
You too.
I watched as she moved off. Images of my dream flashed through my mind, future Scarlett's face beaming as she squealed with joy. I love it! Thank you! I really wanted to give her a special gift, but I had nothing to give her. After the last course, I watched Scarlett board her transport before I rushed to meet Penny on mine. Our usual adult had been replaced by a big, intimidating man we'd never seen before. He disabled all our speakers, but what shocked me most was that he didn't buckle any of us. I missed Penny's happy jabbering, forced to endure the never-ending doctrine polluting the airwaves. When Mom opened the door and saw that our speakers were switched off, all the blood drained from her face. She stepped aside, letting us in, immediately kneeling down to activate our speakers. I'm so sorry. What happened? Penny's modulator let sadness slip into her voice.
He just shut us off on the way back. I don't know why.
Mom hugged us both. I'm so sorry, but you're home now. Tell me all about your day. The next day, everything except my time with Scarlett was a blur. At midday break, we met at the terminals, making sure no teachers were around before whispering in between recording our notes. I was curious, so I whispered,
What's your assigned occupation?
Scarlett whispered back,
Teaching assistant. What's your AO?
She seemed happy about it. I definitely wasn't happy about mine, whispering,
Mining supervisor. You like it?
We both scanned the area again, and it took me a minute to gather up the courage to whisper back,
Hate it. I want astronomer. I'm sorry.
Her whisper sounded so sad, as if I'd upset her. I didn't like that.
It's okay. Doesn't matter anyway.
That's a lie. It means everything to me. It had been almost an entire quarter since Scarlett and I had become friends, and in that precious time, my whole worldview had changed. I was distracted, but so much happier. And not just when I was with her, I was elated all the time and had a much better attitude about everything. Lately, I couldn't wait to get to education. For the first time in my life, I wasn't completely miserable. I kept my friendship with Scarlett a secret. I loved that we shared that secret. Even though she didn't pry, Mom definitely noticed the change in me, and it was obvious that seeing me so joyous made her happy too. My constant good mood even affected Penny, and our house was filled with lots of playful laughter. During our nightly routine, Mom asked me, "So, do you want to tell me what you learned in astronomy, Jared?" I dipped my knees.
Yeah, I'd love to.
She grinned. "Great, let's hear it." Penny jumped up and down, thumping the floor.
I want to hear too.
Mom laughed hard at Penny's adorable enthusiasm. I smiled on the inside as I explained my knowledge of the stars, stopping often because of Penny's exuberant outbursts. By the time I'd finished my rambling, Penny was ready to sleep. Mom smiled down at her, gathering Penny in her arms, whispering, "Let's get you in bed." I followed Mom, watching as she helped Penny into bed before kissing her and whispering, "I love you, baby girl. Dream big." I stood in the doorway, thinking for the millionth time how lucky Penny and I were to have our loving mother. When a shadow fell across Mom's face, I was concerned, whispering,
Are you okay?
Mom patted me, whispering, "I'm fine, sweetie." She left the room and I followed, watching as she absent-mindedly tapped at the wall terminal in the common room. I asked,
What's that?
Mom shook her head, sighing heavily before sitting down on the stool. I leaned against the stool next to her.
Are you sure everything's okay?
Honestly, no. It's Penny's preliminary occupation assignment assessment. And I